Game over. It is game over.
Game over, cancer. I'm Val Solomon, Director of Program Impact at Cannonball Kids Cancer Foundation.
And I'm Dana Nichols, Executive Director of CKC.
Game Over Cancer, a podcast dedicated to exploring conversations about pediatric cancer research, solutions, and inspiring family stories.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to creating innovative treatment options for kids fighting cancer and educating for change.
By creating a space for these conversations, we empower the community to take action and provide tangible hope.
Game over, cancer. Screw you, cancer. Today's episode is just lovely. We have
Delightful.
two incredible humans on with us. Nick and Rachel Mangan are on. They're Lantz's mom and dad, and we're talking all about Lantz's survivorship story. But I think what comes through more than anything is gratitude and their thoughtfulness and just their beautiful perspective on life that probably has taken some time to get to, but that they've put in the work to get there.
I think I have said before that their conversations with them are like being embraced by a warm hug. So we're very excited that you get to be hugged by them as well today.
100%. So take a listen to Nick and Rachel.
Our guests today are founders of Gabriel Therapy Group, providing high-quality speech, occupational, and physical therapy services for children and families in Central Florida. And they're also the founding family behind Keep On Walking, a nonprofit organization that's committed to making a difference in the lives of children facing challenges of pediatric cancer, special needs, and disabilities. They provide support for pediatric cancer research and rehabilitative therapies that empower children to overcome adversity and thrive. They are parents to pediatric cancer survivor Lantz and twin girls, Maddie and Zoe. Please welcome Nick and Rachel Mangan.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here.
We're really grateful. We've already had pretty much a unofficial podcast before this started.
We really
talking
should start recording
lives.
early.
Different
podcast.
Yeah, it's a different podcast. That's a different umbrella of the CKC for sure. But we're so glad you're here. We love partnering with y'all, and we know that for other families to hear survivor stories just always makes all the difference in the world for them. So we're really grateful that you're going to be here today to talk about all sorts of things, but talking about Lantz. And we thought maybe we'd start with, well, how's he doing today? How's he doing this summer?
Yeah. Well, we just made it to 10 years cancer-free.
Amazing.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We're doing scans once a year just to check for recurrence, and there is none. And so we're just in this really grateful space right now. And, you know, he's 16 now. He was 6 when it all shook out. And, you know, his memories of the process fade every week, every year. And, you know, he's ready to just kind of move past it. But he understands that we do have to walk this road still at least once a year and go through this anxiety and all of the fun things that come with that day and then the follow-up appointment. But I mean, he is thriving.
Awesome.
And from what we thought we might go through when we first got diagnosed versus, you know, what we're staring at now, they're polar opposites. And it's a great place to be.
So 16, is he driving? Practicing driving?
Yes.
Every day. I want to go to McDonald's for a nice coffee. All right, man.
I may
See
or
you
may
in
not
20 minutes.
have my Life 360
At all times.
All the time, yeah.
There's a picture of the day that he got his license, and I didn't realize he was taking it, but I literally was watching Life 360, watching him drive around. It's like your heart and soul gets behind the wheel, and then they just leave. So, yeah, I am so proud of him. He's doing an incredible job. He's a straight A student in school, in high school, going into 11th grade next year. And, you know, to think back on everything that we've been through to get to this point, it really is quite incredible. I think this is the first year where this is the season where it's like gala season, right? It's that time of year where we go to all the events, we go to all of the cancer activities because of the awareness months and all the things. And so this is the first year where the only thing we did was CKC.
Oh,
and
really?
None of the other events we went to, and it wasn't as though it was a decision in our mind. It's just this, one, the schedules didn't work out, or two, it's so interesting to get to this place in our lives to where we're here and we support and we're part of these things, but it's not so deeply ingrained in who we are anymore, to where that is our life. There are so many other things that we're involved in too. And that's a unique space to be in as we are in this survivorship space.
I almost feel like a sense of like a deep sigh when you say that.
Yeah.
Like we can relax for a minute and just be.
Yeah.
It's a new chapter in our life. You know, the page of the previous chapter is written and turned and gone, and you know, it's not coming back. That cancer that he had, it's not. If something happens, it's going to be something new. And, you know, we're not rooting for that. Certainly, you know, there's the possibility of secondary stuff down the line based on the chemo that he was on for 2 years. But I mean, it's just not there anymore. And there wasn't a day I didn't think about it for the first 5 years. You know, particularly the first 3 years, like it's coming back, it's coming back, it's coming back. The thoughts you're in a dark place. You know, you're thinking about giving your kids eulogy sometimes because of what a doctor has told you. And then now, you know, 2 years ago when he's a middle schooler, I'm butting heads with them and just furious day to day. Whereas 10 years ago, I would have traded anything to be guaranteed those days. And then you find those days and you're like, I can't stand you. As a human right now. And, you know, and then we get past that. And now he's the best big brother and he's the best student. And, you know, his golf game is getting sharp and he can beat me now. And, you know,
he's teaching me how to play.
We're just in a different phase. And like Rach said, you know, CKC was there for us from day one. You know, everybody. And so we'll be there every year for CKC. But the other stuff, it just didn't work out this year. And that's okay. It'll work out next year or maybe the year after. We'll always be there. We'll always make ourselves vulnerable because that's what those events do to you is it pushes you back into that space for a day. And, you know, when you're getting dressed, you're like, oh, like this is going to be emotional. And then you get there and it turns into a celebration. And, you know, the speaker that you had this year was fantastic.
She was great.
I mean, just the way she explained the research and everything and what you guys continue to do. And we're research-based practice for our business. And so that's why I think we also really mesh with CKC so well is because we operate on the same value system as you guys.
That's awesome. I wonder if there's something you said about, you know, the difference between when you're looking back, what Lantz is seeing and what you're seeing. And how do you marry that as a narrative, like where as parents, you're like, okay, we're going to let him drive. We're going to go do all these things.
Also, get me an iced coffee while you're out there.
100%.
He has done grocery shopping for us, which has been fantastic. So I wrote a list for that.
Yes.
But I think that it comes up really organically for us because there's situations. So we, over the past year, he's gotten into surfing and loves going to the beach and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, dude, you got to wear a sun shirt. You got to wear a hat. You got to wear your sunscreen, like all of this kind of stuff. And he's like, man, you're just such a stickler about this. I'm like, I have to be transparent with you that one of the secondary cancers is going to be melanoma. Like those are things that you have to be mindful of. And he's like, oh, okay. And so then we start having these conversations of side effects or, hey, your skin is like this because of medication that you took. Because he still has some skin stuff. And there's other doctors that we have to go visit that are just part of our life now. And so it organically comes up in these conversations as we're navigating his care and him becoming an independent young man. And what that looks like is he's ultimately going to have to be responsible for his medical journey as he gets older. And so it hasn't been something that we have felt the need to sit down with him and say, hey, let's talk about all of the things that you've been through and all. There really has been this organic process to, hey, we need to be mindful of this because this is the history that you've been through. And these are the things we have to protect ourselves from going forward. So that's more of how we've handled it and approached it, is just as those situations come up, we then talk about that. There will be more in the future that we're going to have to talk about. But those are things that as they come up and as we cross those bridges, like Nick said, we're grateful to be here. This is a time that we didn't think that we would get. And so we just take it one step at a time and we try to really embrace each of those moments and each of those experiences. And I think that that's really just part of how we try to operate our business. We try to operate our lives, is that we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised next year. And our situation next year could be 100% different than what it is right now. So we really have to be conscious about being grateful for where we're at, being joyful in these moments and taking advantage of those opportunities while they're here. Because if we don't know what could happen next year. And that's just how we live our life now. And there's things we don't hold on to. There's things we don't harbor, because at the end of the day, this stuff doesn't matter. It's not important. And when you're able to live life in that perspective, it makes business and work and family and schedules and all the crazy stuff that we do every day, it makes it worth it. And it makes it matter.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've been on, our cancer journey looks so different from other, like I see a picture of Nolan right behind you right now. Right. And, you know, we would run into the Kings in the hospital and they'd be checking in for 3 weeks at a time. And we're just there for an appointment. And so, you know, for us, Lantz, our initial stay in the hospital was 9 days. We were talking about it yesterday. You know, he went in on Friday the 13th and then his surgery was on the 19th. And a couple of days later, you know, we drive home and all the signs are out in the neighborhood. But we didn't have to go back to the hospital for chemo. You know, Lantz had a port at the beginning, but we took pill form chemo for 2 years. We had to change our schedule at home. We had to wake him up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take your pill, let it sit for an hour so then you can have breakfast with the family. You know, nobody's eating from the hours of 4 to 6 because Lantz can't eat from 4 to 6 and we're going to do this together for 2 years. But there was no follow-up surgeries. His only physical sign is a 9-inch scar on his head that he's had his hair grown out to cover for the last 6 years. And so we don't see it on the daily. You know, he's got the broccoli haircut like every kid right now.
Alpaca dude.
Yeah, it's our alpaca. And, you know, when he gets his hair cut, it's like, oh, it's peeking out just a little bit. But, you know, at the beginning, when he would get a fresh fade and it was there and it was powerful. But he doesn't want to be identified by that. You know, he really doesn't want to talk about it at school. And that's his personal choice because he truly, when I think back, and I don't know if it's the same for you, when I think back of kindergarten, I got a couple memories from kindergarten, and that's the reality of the matter. And it's the same for him. You know, he remembers it because we talk about it. We talked about it so many times that it's just now part of who he is. But if we didn't talk about it, would it come up? Would he bring it up? No, absolutely not. But we are so lucky. And that's why we really do try to stay in this place of gratefulness is we are just so lucky as to how it all shook out. And, you know, we just went to a bunch of appointments. You know, it was all between our ears. It wasn't a big physical thing for him, for us. It was just, can you survive this mental game? Can we lean on each other enough to support each other to get through this? And then another clean scan. All right, you guys, we were doing this every 3 months. We'll do it every 4 months now. All right, cool. You know, we did that for a year. All right, now it's time to go to 6 months. Ooh, we're getting somewhere. And then you get to 5 years and it's like, we'll see you in a year. And you talk to your surgeon because we're very close with our surgeon still. Our surgeon's wife is Rachel's professional mentor. You know, it just all was the perfect storm for us to defeat Lantz's cancer. And then you get the phone call at 5 years from Dr. B and he says, you're pretty much good, dude. Like scanning once a year, what are you going to catch?
And I think that's what's interesting listening to you talk, because I'm going to play the opposite side of it. Nick and I both have very different perspectives through this too. And I think that that's something that when you go through a cancer journey, you have to recognize that everybody goes through it in their own way. And how Nick perceives things and remembers things and processes things is different than how I perceived things, processed, and it's going to be different for Lantz as well. And it's different for my parents. It's different for his parents. Like, it's different for our family members and everybody that is affected by this diagnosis is going to process it and experience it differently. And I think it's just important to allow, I think that we've done a really great job just allowing each other to have those perspectives and memories for themselves. Like, we don't create a great debate of what, because at the end of the day, what does it matter? You know, for me, Nick is at the point where he's like, I would never scan again. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. I'm back on the opposite side of that. Can we go back to those 3 months? Just
can I buy an MRI machine?
Zoom through it on their way out the door.
This is why I watch Life 360. He doesn't even have it downloaded on his phone.
Yeah.
Like, and so I am all about preventative. I am all about being proactive with that kind of stuff. And so I think that that's very important to know too, is that we want Lantz to process this based off of his memories and his experiences the same way that he and I have allowed each other, and even our family has allowed us to process things in our own way as they have had to process things in their own way too. And so that's something that we have to keep in mind. You know, for me, going back, it was a very rigid schedule that we operated. We did have to wait 2 times a day. We're administering medications. We're having to get up in the morning and make sure that he has his meds in the morning. And then anyone that came over after school, we didn't do sports. We didn't do clubs. We didn't do activities because we had to come home and we had to be home between these hours. And if you were in our household, you knew that there was 0 food being served. You could have a sip of water, but that was what was happening at that time. And so all of our friends for those 2 years, they just knew that that's what it was. Or, hey, have your kids come over. There will be no food. There will be no, you know. So those are things that were just, they were constructs that were. But when we started, and this is why what you guys do is so extremely pivotal, this medication was not approved for children. It was not even FDA approved at the time. There were only 17 documented cases where this medication was taken, and it was primarily for adult melanomas that this med was taken. And he ended up having a mutation in his cells that allowed him to be a candidate to try this medication. It wasn't necessarily a clinical trial. It wasn't under research at the time. But there was enough evidence to say we think this could work, but we know for a fact it would be better than an intravenous option. We know that these types of medications are going to be palliative, and that wasn't what we were looking for at the time. And so we really had to become such strong advocates for the type of treatment we wanted, the type of professionals we wanted to work with, even down to obtaining his diagnosis. He was diagnosed with dehydration in the emergency room. And that was where we really had to become very strong advocates. I remember going home that evening and I was in tears, like something is wrong, like really, really, really wrong. And he was like, Rach, the doc said that's fine. Like they did these tests, and I'm like, they didn't do anything neuro. They didn't do any, you know, and so I'm going through this. But again, it's because of my experiences of working in the hospital or being surrounded by these professionals for what I do for a living as a therapist, that I was able to even know to ask these types of questions. Which led us down to meeting a doctor at the hospital at 7 a.m. before they're going into surgery just so that they could take a peek at him. And that led to getting on cancellation lists for an MRI. And we've talked about the ball field with softball and t-ball. He literally was finishing practice at t-ball and the hospital called and said, we had a cancellation for an MRI tonight. I was like, I'll take it. And then we go and then we switch cars and the twins get in his car and I grab Lantz and go to the hospital. And I remember being there with the MRI machine and just crying in that room because I knew something was going to be found. And being present in that room and hearing those sounds, that's a sound you'll never forget. And sure enough, it was about a week and a half later, he had another episode at school. And then we got on the phone and we're like, what are the results? We have to get the results. And they basically said, get Lantz, get to the hospital. There's a tumor and we've got to get it out. So that was kind of that initial piece. His medication, we really had to go through. We went through multiple hospitals to really find the treatment option that we wanted for him. Radiation was recommended.
We turned down radiation.
We turned it down.
I mean, we had doctors look us in the face and we were talking about, you know, what does first grade look like? And they say, he's not going to first grade. You know, like this thing's going to come back. He's going to have surgery again, you know, and even though doc, you know, had a gross total resection and got the whole thing out, there's cells left because it was grade 3. It was spreading, you know, and they said, we've got to do radiation. We've got to do chemo just to try it, but it's going to come back. And first grade is not an option. And, you know, we get on the phone once we found out he did have the VRAF mutation that 50% of adult melanomas have. And so they had started dosing down this medicine to go after pediatric brain tumors that had the same mutation, and they dosed it down based on his weight. And they said, let's give it a shot. And we're on the phone with doc. I'll never forget that call. We're standing around our kitchen table in Maitland. And, you know, he says, take the meds, don't do radiation. We still have arrows in the quiver. Never, ever forget that.
He did say that.
And, and that was what we needed to say no to radiation. Because in
our
her field,
doctors were fantastic.
Yeah.
We were able to we had Orlando Health, we had Mayo Clinic, we had UF, and Boston Children's Hospital,
Dana-Farber.
all on the phone at the same time, because we were like, what do we do? And his tumor wasn't well studied. There wasn't anything out there for it. And they're like, we have a couple of adults that have had this kind of tumor before. Like, we don't really know what to do. So just the fact that we were able to push to the point to where all of these doctors took time, got on the phone, discussed this together. And, our oncologist at Orlando Health, who's now at Boston Children's, she's fantastic, but Dr. Aguilar, she asked our surgeon, if it comes back, can you get it all again? He said 100%. And I think that confidence is what we needed to be able to say, because if you have a child that's under 8 years old and you do brain radiation, you're looking at cognitive deficits for the rest of their life.
Right.
Yes.
And we're talking side effects that are really significant. And so, it's very, what I didn't realize going into this is the decisions that you have to make as a cancer parent are decisions that no parent should have to make. I didn't realize how much autonomy really, I think there's some cancers that really have strict protocols of like, we know for a fact what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's this whole other genre of cancers that really don't. It's like, here's what we know.
Yeah.
And based off of what we know, here's some options that you have on how we should treat this. And that was
now
scary.
you, who's not an oncologist, you pick.
Now go ahead and pick.
And kind of quickly,
And
right?
quickly.
Do
You
better
this
live with
now.
this,
Yeah.
Because doing radiation, or let me rephrase that, not doing radiation really wasn't an option to any of these doctors.
Right.
And then we found the mutation, and you could kind of see them start to waver on that opinion. But she's in the field. She treated our surgeon's kids when they would come out of surgery from him, and she would help them develop language. And she would look at me with tears in my eyes, and she's like, Lantz, that can't be Lantz. That cannot be Lantz. And so then you got to make this call, and he doesn't know,
Right.
and this could be a totally different road that we ended up on if it would have come back, and then we have to live with, man, should have we done radiation or should we have not? And you don't have the time. You're on the clock immediately. And what's your decision? What are you going to do? And so we rolled the dice, and snake eyes. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think the amazing thing is the further out we get, the better technology gets, the better imaging gets, the better medication gets, the better research gets. Like, we're now at a place 10 years later where inhibitors are the norm. Like, that's what we'd use. And so it's so great to see the advancements that happen to where it's like, okay, well, if we can kick the can down the road a year, something new is going to be here. And I think that's just so inspiring too.
Yeah. I think too, when we talk about like, okay, we found this mutation, that's thanks to research, right?
Yeah.
To be able to see that. And then what do we know now? And then in 10 years, what does that mean?
Correct.
Or what do we see is really, really powerful? It's obviously why we all agree that CKC and places like us need to be here. Is it's not enough to just figure out that there's the mutation. It's what does that continue to mean?
Correct.
Or what can we learn from it is really, really helpful to him thriving in time.
We talk about it often, like it has to count. Like it has to count. We are not going to go to hell and back for this to not count. And so not only for us as individual lives, like living our life to the fullest and going and experiencing everything that this world has to offer, but also with the work that we do, I need parents to learn how to be advocates for their kids, learn how to ask questions, learn how to put a team together and seek out other professionals. Do you even know you can get second and third and fourth opinions? And that there's hospitals that'll review your documentation as part of a grant or for free because that's what they do, And I think that that's the only reason that we found other treatment options is because we took advantage of that. And I want parents to know that. And I also think it's so important that the professionals are current in their practice and that they're current in the research that's coming out. Because if they're not, those options aren't going to be known to the families that they're serving. And sometimes just the constructs that are put in place with our medical fields, it's not the professional's fault.
Yeah.
They are expected to work sun up to sundown to treat these kids, but when are they supposed to become current in their practice?
Right.
What additional time do they have? And so those are things that I think by you guys going around and visiting hospitals and seeing that keeps that in the forefront of the minds of the people we're working with. So I appreciate you.
Exactly what I was hoping. We appreciate you too.
Yes.
And this is exactly what I was hoping we could chat about, because I think just knowing you guys and knowing what your work is, that we can imagine that navigating the pediatric cancer space, I think both, right? Like the therapy background, the medical background helped you navigate the pediatric cancer space. And then the pediatric cancer space, being a parent, has helped you in that experience navigate moving forward. So tell us a little bit about how what you've been through over the last 10 years is really forming like the day-to-day of your therapy practice.
Yeah. I think it's really been transformative in the way that we work. One, the way that he and I work together. I mean, the fact that you have a married couple that's running a business together, and the fact that
it's blowing my mind.
And
they clearly like each other.
So delightful.
We have separate offices.
Fair enough.
We're down the hall for each other.
Nice.
But no, it's like she said, it has to matter. And we didn't do this to not pay it forward. I don't know. I mean, we still struggle. It's a small business.
Yeah.
You know, and we are in the medical field, and there's people making decisions for us as far as billing and reimbursements and things of that nature, where we just get an email and it's change your business plan. But we just did that. Change it again. And we have no control over that. And so it's very similar as to being in the pediatric cancer space, because we had zero control of it. We could just make decisions, but the results are totally unknown until you get to the end of the road.
Yeah.
And, you know, for us, it was, can we do this better? Can we make a better impact for our community? What would it look like if we were steering the ship together? You know, I come from a hospitality background. I come from a yes business. You know, the customer is always right in hospitality. And, you know, she's been practicing for almost 20 years in speech therapy in a million different settings, hospitals, schools, private practice, you name it, she's done it. And it was just a kitchen table decision, essentially, almost 5 years ago, that we can do this.
And the amazing part about blending medical and hospitality is that it doesn't usually happen. You don't.
I was just going to say, it must feel amazing to walk into your practice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just knowing you guys and hearing you talk about that, and the way you just spoke about helping parents empower themselves and their children in their experience is just, it's got to stand out.
It's a strong philosophy that we operate by, and that's why I love his perspective of hospitality and customer service so much, because when you're in the medical realm, that's not always the forefront of the discussions. 100%. But how many doctors don't have great bedside manner? And we talk about bedside manner. So that's what we strive really hard to do. We talk about GTG, so Gabriel Therapy Group. We have 3 different realms of that. So Gabriel Therapy Group, of course, is our therapeutic component, but we also say grow the good, which that is our community-based pieces. We do a food drive every year to help give back to the community. We do Parents Night Out. So the clinicians are the ones that are there volunteering our time to take care of the kids, so that these parents, I'm like always in tears by the end of the night, because it's taking 3 or 4 hours out of our time. But for these parents, some of them with children with special needs haven't been on a date night in 4 years or haven't been able to leave their child with someone else that they trust. And having those clinicians that work with these children week in and week out, parents really trust us. There was a mom that was able to take her older daughter out to go get pedicures one night. Things like that. So being able to provide these Parents Night Out, we do birthday cards for all of our kids, celebrating those small milestones. And we try to participate in other community events for other organizations, nonprofits, other organizations that work with special needs kids, because it's not about us. It's not about referrals. It's about really supporting the community as a whole. So we try really hard to participate in that. So growing the good through that. Also, our advocacy and education pieces are part of that. And then we also have GTG for Get to Grateful. So that is one of our all-time values that we operate by, our gratitude and joy. And so there may be children that will need some form of support for the rest of their lives. That's how this goes. But it doesn't mean that there's not something grateful that we can pull from that moment. Yeah. And when you're present and in that space, it brings meaning and purpose to what it is that we're doing. And so that's our goal as practice owners is we worry about the numbers, the productivity, the billing, the things, because that's necessary to run a healthy business, right? But it's not the purpose of what we do. And we try really hard to keep our team we want them to know that they are appreciated for the work that they do. We want our families to know you are not alone, that this is something that nobody asked for, but that there's hope in this and that there can be joy in this space too. And we want more than anything for our community to know that we're here to help support as available. So
it's incredible.
I know.
And the doors keep on opening.
Yeah, they do.
And then we can keep on walking right through them is, that was kind of our tagline, and that's the not-for-profit and because you don't have a choice. You're in the space. You control how you handle it. I hate to talk about victim energy, but it's a real thing. Right. And it's hard for some people to get out of that mental headspace. And so that was one of our biggest focuses as we went through it is, if we started to go down that road, we would tell each other like, we can't be there. The data, and you talked about it on other podcasts too, of couples staying together after, the number was close to like 70%. And now it's gone up.
And our surgeon sat us down after, because he was from MD Anderson, and he sat us down after Lance's procedure, and he was like, okay, this is what it is. He said, but I need you to know that if y'all care about this, and he pointed to Nick and I, and he goes, if you care about this, you have to find a way to pour into each other or it will end. Like he just was so blunt with us, and we were like, whoa. And at the time when you're in the hospital and it's so like, oh, you're all I got, babe, you're all in it. But then I tell you what, you get 6 months down the road and a year down the road and 2 years down the road and the grief hits hard, really hard. And we process differently. We make different decisions. And if you don't have some sort of common ground of I'm committed to the journey. I don't know what this mess is right now, but the journey I'm committed to. And I think that was something that we both had throughout, even when it was really hard.
Well, I think it's very clear because even earlier when we were talking and Nick had said his perspective and you said, and mine's very different, but with zero resentment and with zero correction, it was just like, and mine's different. And so that, and I know that has stuck out to me in this, together. But I think that is, you're saying right here how you got there. Because everyone is going to have a different perspective, or you can keep on walking together, but that's not in the same body, right? And so it is really, really incredible to watch you all still be on the path together in a real way. And
we're very happily married.
I think that's very obvious. I love that. We've now touched on Keep on Walking. So what is incredible for anyone listening is that you have GTG, you have an incredible business that is pouring into community, is doing so much good, and apparently wasn't enough. So we made Keep on Walking. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Did you make a face?
He pointed at you.
Okay, so why do we need even more aside from gratitude and aside from paying it forward?
I think because access is so important.
Okay.
And that is where Keep on Walking really comes from. Over the years, Keep on Walking was back a long time ago, where the name even came from, when I would write my posts online, because Facebook was how we communicated with the greater community.
Start the group and life lessons with Lantz.
That's what it's called.
This is how we're going to communicate, so we don't have to send out 500 text messages.
100%.
Every single time. It's just easier.
Yeah.
And at the end of each one of our posts, we would sign it, Keep on Walking, Keep on Walking, because it's a journey. And that's ultimately what we wanted everybody to know, is that if you're coming along with us on this, like, there's not a conclusion. This story doesn't have a pretty bow on top. We're just going to keep on walking through it, and knowing that you have a community around you is so great. So back 10 years ago, this was an idea, and there was a group that got together in the room that consisted of he and I, my mom, neighbors, dear family friends, that really helped kind of breathe life into this. But when you're in the thick of a cancer journey, it's not really the best time to start a foundation. Like it's just...
Can you say that again, please? I feel like a lot of people need to hear you.
It's really true. Just emotionally. And I know like back years ago, Val, like I've even tried to do things with CKC, but the emotional piece that comes with it is really heavy. Yeah. And then you're trying to process your trauma and grief while you're trying to help support other people that are processing trauma and grief. And it is a very emotional road. So we decided to put that on the back burner. And then a couple of years ago, my mom really from up in North Carolina had a lot of events that they were doing that they were like, we want to give back and we want this to pour back into our community. Pediatric cancer research is so key. If Lantz's cancer ever does come back, we need for there to have been progress in this area. Yeah. And so pouring into that is a non-negotiable for our family as a whole. And so she really founded this in North Carolina, got the roots up and going up in North Carolina, and then we were able to bring that and continue that here in Florida. And so we donate to CKC for our cancer research elements, and then we provide innovative therapy treatments for children for them to be able to receive the treatment that comes with it. We've provided scholarships for everything from mental health therapies to regular therapeutic things, scholarships for school. We have provided gas cards and funding for families to be able to get to their doctor's appointments or hotel stays, because you sometimes have to travel to go to support these things. So it's really that journey piece of either cancer or a life-altering diagnosis. And so being able to provide family support in that space. One of the big areas that we support right now is farm fees so that children have access to equine-based therapies, which is really amazing to see the children and the horses interacting together. And so that has been phenomenal to see the kids and their responses to the horses. And so that equine-based therapy is really awesome.
That's awesome.
And it's allowed other nonprofits that we're partnering with to expand their reach and dream bigger dreams for them, because Keep On Walking is not huge. You know, it's not a 6-figure, it's not a 7-figure deal, but it's making an impact. And at the end of the day, we're going to be able to say with confidence, we did everything we could do. We stretched ourselves to our fullest bandwidth while maintaining a healthy marriage, while raising 3 great kids. I love them to death, no matter how much we butt heads. We're raising great kids that are going to contribute to society in a meaningful way every day. And it's great, you know, and watching the other not-for-profit that we partner with on the farm, watching her, the lady who runs it, Renee, kind of say, oh my gosh, this is great. And we go see another space in St. Augustine that does kind of the same thing. And then her eyes getting as big as her head and saying, oh my gosh, we could do this.
Yes.
You know, because what she's currently doing is not going to be the long-term thing for her. And it's empowering, and that's what you can do. And it's the least we can do.
They're platforms. They really are. Like, we've created platforms, and we have incredible people and team members and therapists and nonprofits and like others. So that really, I think, is what ultimately has been created, is this, let us take everything that we've been through, stand strong in that, and hold this space for it to create something beautiful for people that we come in contact with and interact with.
I love what I hear from y'all, like even the equine therapy, all of it is, let us do what we know how to do and let's turn it over to other people and what they know how to do, right? Sure. Like, you don't need to run equine therapy, but you can understand how powerful it is. So where's your partner for that? And that, I think, we believe in so much at Cannonball, and clearly why we're all, you know, great partners, is that idea of like, I don't need to be the expert on everything. No. I don't want to be. But how do I find those people and really move things forward? And you've done a really incredible job of being in both spaces, the research, the prevention that we could get to, but also when families are navigating side effects or disability, being there for them. Is there anything you'd want to make sure families understand, or maybe open a door for them on if that's what they're navigating right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think that one my biggest thing is really trust your gut and trust your instinct. If you feel as though something is off, it's always worth a conversation, whether it's a conversation with your pediatrician, with other professionals in the community, whether it's psychologists, or we have PTs, OTs, speech pathologists. And so really finding someone that's a specialist in those areas of child development and saying, hey, I really want to talk to you about this, or being vulnerable with their teacher or their educator and saying, hey, I've noticed these things have been hard at home and I wanted to bring that up. And initiating that conversation, as vulnerable as it feels, by remaining silent or just telling yourself, oh, it's just part of it. Oh, they're just a kid. Maybe they'll grow out of it. The earlier that we can intervene is the better the chances are long term for being able to reach that level of independent life that we all want to have. And I know everybody defines success different. Yeah. So having a successful life, I think, is leaving things by the wayside, but I think allowing people to go on and live an independent life is something that we really want as a goal for the families that we work with. And so ask the questions. If you feel something might be off, it's worth asking the question, even though it's very vulnerable and uncomfortable at the beginning. And if you get an answer that you still are unsettled about, ask another person. And that is something I feel like we're supposed to just trust. And it's not that you can't trust, but it's gathering data, right? Yeah. And you take all of these data points and you put them together, and then you make decisions for yourself of, is this something that I should explore more? Or is this something that, I can be at peace with this and let's observe for a little bit? I think that really is the differentiator. That early intervention is key. And whether it's a severe medical diagnosis that requires everything from medications, chemos, things like that, all the way down to developmental milestones, that early intervention really is key. Because life continues to go forward. And if you don't take steps in that direction, the gap is going to get bigger.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question kind of a little bit similar. So not necessarily the families that would come for therapy, but if you are talking to other parents of kids either with cancer, disabilities, but if they were looking to get involved with a nonprofit, so you've been partnered with several, you have your own, what is your advice for parents who are thinking, I would like to do something, I don't know what that is yet. There's several organizations in my community, but I don't know what to do to get plugged in. What would you tell them?
I think that's a great question. And I think it's really soul searching that for a little bit. Are you wanting community? Are you wanting to volunteer? What really is it that you're feeling is the gap? And really isolating that down and making a decision based off of that. Because I think that it's very different wanting to feel not alone in this space. I think a lot of parents also want to know, I want to know that my story matters. And I want to know that even though I'm either in the thick of it, lonely, we were talking about loneliness earlier, it really is isolating when you go through this stuff. So sometimes instead of starting a foundation, maybe it's that you just need a community to be around, or maybe you just need to know that someone's hearing the story of your child and that matters. So really, I would encourage parents to sit with it for a little bit and say, what really is it that you're feeling that you need? I know for me, I think it was community, and I think it was being heard. And then I know now that we're past that, it's, hey, we're past this, and we can be that strength when there's parents that can't be. And that's why we're able to hold this space now. So that would be my first thing, would say, really isolate what the feeling is and what you feel like that needs to be. And then 2, find the organizations that you resonate with that are doing a really good job. Because I think CKC, you guys are playing the long-term game. You're not in the business of, hey, let me provide you funding so that you can have a meal on your doorstep this afternoon. You know what I mean? And there are organizations that do that. And so you guys are playing the long-term game of like, hey, we're going to invest in something that we're going to see the difference 5 years down the road of what this is going to be. And I think that resonates deeply with us being where we're at.
I'm a science nerd. Growing up, that's what makes me tick.
And we know the ins and outs of the board. We know how you operate. And I think that that's the other thing that's really important too, is to get to know the founders, get to know the board, get to know the directors. And if you resonate with that organization and what they're providing with, ask them, because there's so many opportunities. There's always going to be a volunteer opportunity or a way to give back. It doesn't always have to be monetary. There's so many other ways.
Yeah, your time is just as valuable for a lot of these things. But it's at the end of the day, can you put your head down on the pillow and say, okay, that's the organization. I am comfortable with what I've given, with the investment, because it's just an investment, whatever. And am I comfortable with that investment, even if maybe it doesn't pay off in the way that I'm hoping it does or whatever. But like for me, CKC, just the research is the key. It's right behind you right now, Mel. One of these doctors, and multiple already have, but one of these doctors is going to change the world. And it's going to save 1,000 kids. It's going to save 10,000 kids. And that's what I want to hang my hat on, is that I helped do that. And then there's other folks who the X's and O's aren't as important maybe of what's really happening behind the scenes. And they're comfortable saying, here's a bunch of money and help so-and-so get to this place, or help them pay their rent and help. And there's a place for everyone. 100%. There's 23 million people in Florida now. There's nonprofits on every corner and they're all doing great work. Just find out what works for you and who do you want to be associated with. And it's great because you're going to bring them notoriety. Everybody's got their network. Your network is your net worth, is kind of one of my favorite things
I think
to
we're
say.
Stronger together though too.
Absolutely.
I think I think there's a lot of pressure as parents of children with cancer in particular to have, there's like a process. I was kind of observing this family and been following their story, and they're like, okay, so we got the shirts. Now we all have shirts. We all have this. And there's kind of this process that you go through when you get into that initial diagnosis piece.
And you're like, they're in phase 1.
We're in phase 1, yes. In phase 1, we got the shirts. We got the
Superland shirts at home.
And so that's where, you have the walks, you do there's that initial phase. But I do think that there is this pressure when you get beyond that first lemonade stand to then turn it into a nonprofit. Now you have to turn it into something that then becomes something more. And we felt that. And that's why we put a pause on Keep on Walking back a long time ago. It was, 9 to 10 years ago when we put a pause on it, was because it's we didn't have the capacity at the time. But then also, I don't even know if you have your head on straight when you're going through all of that. But then as we moved forward, I actually think it was Melissa I was having a conversation with a while back. But we were talking about how there were so many different organizations that the money does get spread out and get watered down a little bit. Whereas if we all were to come together and take all of those resources, what could we do with that? And how powerful could that be? And that conversation really resonated with us. And that's kind of the philosophy we operate by anyways. And so being able to bring people together for a common cause, I think is going to make a lot bigger impact, a lot bigger ripple in the realm.
100%.
Well, now that people have listened to your podcast episode and
we might hand the podcast over to them. They're better hosts.
We'll have to find, they seem busy, but they can maybe fill in for us.
Yes.
But if anybody's interested in either getting involved in Keep on Walking or if they need to access some services that you talked about for Gabriel Therapy Group, how can they contact you guys? How can they get a hold of those two organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. All of our stuff is on social media. We have our website too, GabrielTherapyGroup.com is the website. And then through that, you'll be able to find all of our therapy services, community-based services, education and consulting, and Keep on Walking. It is all
awesome. You've made it easy.
There we go.
I had no doubt, honestly. And we can also include that in the show notes too.
We will. Yeah. Thank you all so much. This has been just a joy. You are a joy, and we are so, so grateful you came on to share your story and share your time with us today.
I'm grateful we get to see you more than just once a year.
Yeah, 100%.
Great.
It's normally just in May, like she said, in gala season, we run into these families and it's a celebration, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel like that.
Good.
And so this has been a nice change.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Well, the reason CKC invests in innovative research is to make treatment easier for our kids and their families, to make sure that Lantz can go to McDonald's and drive himself for his iced coffee. So if you want to support research that makes that possible, you can make a gift on our website, cannonballkidscancer.org.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Game Over Cancer and remind you that leaving a review actually helps us educate for change by getting this podcast in front of more people. So we really encourage you to go back in, review our podcast, and tell us how delightful our guests are.
Yeah, compliments only. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining our fight. I'm Dana Nichols.
I'm Val Solomon.
And until next time, we will CK see you later.
Join us as we transform fear into courage and turn adversity into opportunities for change.
If you want to be involved in the conversations that create change in the world of pediatric cancer, take a moment, share, like, and subscribe.